Welcome to another episode of Clickening.
The Clickening,
The Clickening.
where marketing happens beyond the click.
And we are actually going beyond the click today with our topic.
Yeah.
Literally.
And this is only our second title to this video
Right.
that none of you have seen yet, but look out,
And
folks.
who freaking knows what else we're going to come up with, what other random topics we're going to do, and blah, blah, blah. So the
We're almost
topic,
called the Bid Boys. Did we talk about that? People
yeah,
know that?
we were almost the bid boys.
I feel like we shut that down pretty fast but I feel like we also shut down most of Colby's ideas pretty fast.
Speak for yourselves.
Yeah, I feel like Colby's going to do something with it anyway. So
Huge company.
huge potential. The bid boys. That should be your agency name, Colby.
Yeah.
Anyways, Andrew, you want to introduce the topic and whatnot?
Yes. Yeah. So today we are talking lifetime value. So I think when there's a lot of different ways that people can and typically do talk about LTV in terms of how they're looking at it from a marketing perspective or how they're measuring it. I think there's a couple different ways. One particular way that I think I prefer talking about with clients or businesses is thinking about it as more lifetime profitability versus, or at least in relation to, how much it costs to acquire a customer or a lead. So I like to try and think of it as a ratio between those two things, where you let's say you're talking to a client and they want to be at a certain profitability level. So for every dollar they spend, they feel like they need to make $3. So depending on how much it typically costs to acquire a new customer, you want to make sure that acquisition cost is your dollar amount, and then the profitability from that customer needs to be 3x that acquisition cost, essentially. So that's a very quick and dirty way of looking at it. But for me, I've had the most successful conversations with businesses kind of trying to measure and look at it that way, because it helps them make sure that they are hitting the efficiency goals that they feel like they need to have for the business. So
What Andrew said. Colby, you want to add something?
Yeah, my thing is I hate explaining the thing that Andrew did, and I know like it's such a pain in the ass. And my train of thought, like here's a dumb person way to do it, and I'm one of those people. But I just look at like your LTV, and then I just look at formula perspective. You look at your margins, then you divide that margin by your LTV to figure out what your new customer acquisition cost has to be to eventually reach that LTV. And sometimes clients look too much in the short term, don't look in the long term, and these conversations don't happen. They're just focused on like, oh, what's the ROAS in my account? What's like X, Y, and Z? And so these are the conversations you need to have. Most important things you can do for your business is figure out like lifetime value for a customer. Then you can figure out things like retention. There's more to advertising than just scaling and slamming all that budget into Google Ads and Facebook. While of course we like that, you got to make sure you have a full funnel. You got to sustain and nurture that funnel, and do a good retention strategy. You can grow your LTV through a good website. You can grow your AOV. You grow all of that, you will get a better LTV. Then you divide your margins by that LTV. You can have a higher nCAC. Bada boom, bada bing. You're gonna be rich, baby.
And now I'll ask you guys how to do it. Sorry.
Yeah. Have you guys had any situations with clients where they came in wanting like a certain ROAS number, but then once you started looking at their store data or Shopify data, you were like, why do you want this ROAS number? Like, this makes no sense.
Every client
Like,
tells me they want a 10x, always. Everyone, always.
Always. I don't know why, but that happens a lot of time. And a lot of the time when you're dealing with clients like that, they don't usually know their numbers well enough for you to argue with them. And it comes down to like breaking it down. Sometimes we've had client managers use Miro boards to explain stuff, build out PowerPoints, and it's like just hand holding them across it. Like, this is what your numbers look like right now. This is what your numbers will look like if you do this. This is what your numbers will look like if you do this. And this is how long it's going to take, right? The concept of LTV usually comes into play when you're capped out at a certain spend level. Like, let's say your client is like, I don't know, we'll use all of Colby's clients that want a 10x. Let's just say all your clients want a 10x, because I don't know where Colby gets his clients, but apparently they want 10x's. They want 10x's, and you're spending $10,000 a month. But no matter what you try, you can't spend more than $10,000 a month with that 10x threshold, right? Then you have to go back into their whole account structure, their business model, and see how much a customer is actually worth to them. And that's where the LTV model comes into place. You got to look at how much a person spends in their first order, how much they spend on month 1 or month 0, how much you spend on month 3, how much you spend on month 6, and how much you spend on month 12. So let's I love using examples, so I'm just going to share my Excel sheet. Do you guys know how many times we've recorded this video and then we've had to re-record it because something always happens? So better be grateful. Anyways, so I pulled actual numbers, guys. I went and pulled actual numbers for you guys as an example for knowing when to shut things off, knowing when to pushing the concept. You have to understand the concept of LTV is like, this is how much a customer is worth to me at different stages of time. In this case, I'm just going to use the example 0, 3, 6, 9, and 12 months. And then these are the numerical values, which essentially means on average, the first order, this is our actual value from one of my clients, is that they come in at $117. So Andrew comes and buys his first order in 117. For some reason, a bunch of those people buy again at month 0 and they're worth 129, which means the average LTV for the first time that batch of customers buying and then buying again in the same month is 129. So it goes all the way up from 117, 129 in the first month. In 3 months, those customers, an individual customer is worth 143, and then 162, 197, and 210. These numbers are pulled from Shopify, and I feel like I should probably show you the best way to go about this if I can find it.
Yeah, I forget 100%.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people get stuck, especially in Shopify, because there's not sometimes, and this was the case even for me like a while ago before
I'm trying to find
it was really kind of mapped out to me. But there's a really good way that Usama's actually kind of walk us through where you can kind of use the timeline cohorts in Shopify to figure out how to get to these numbers.
Yep. Anyways, I'm going to share a different screen real quick. All this stuff is going to be blurred, but I'm going to go to where I need to. So we are going to go to, for everyone that's like Colby and always forgets where to navigate, all of this, blur this out, whoever's editing this.
We're going to show it all. We're going to give our client's credit card number, and you can buy whatever you want. You can buy whatever you want.
We do that with your clients. I want to keep my clients. But Colby's clients, whenever they show up, guys, I will send me a Slack DM, LinkedIn DM. I will send you all the info.
You get a 10x because I just use their credit card and buy their product.
Facts. Anyways, you go down and you go to customer cohort analysis, and then you just hit on all cohorts. So when I was talking about, when I was talking about month 0 initially, this is what I was looking at. So we go to all cohort and then all periods, and this is first order. Well, it's changed now, but this is, right here. This is your average order value, your first product cost, roughly this much, right? This is month 0. This is how much they spend in the same month. So out of, let's just say, how many did we get? 152,000 customers. 15,000 of them came back and bought again with an average order value of 157. So if you look at the amount spent over here, the amount spent on the first order was $124. On the second order, the average that the 15,000 increased the average per amount spent for customers will increase to 143. The farther you go down 1 to 3 months, that's your 3-month LTV here, 178. 1, 2, 3. That's your 6-month LTV, 190. 1, 2, 3. That's your 9-month LTV. So come to this customer cohort analysis, look at the numbers, and then if you go all periods, and I think that's roughly, yeah, that's 11 months. I just add a little bit more. So like 200 would probably be the 12-month LTV, but 11-month LTV is 193. These here is the amount of new customers you get per month. Does that make sense to y'all? I'll pause. Let that digest.
You want to explain why November would have such a large cohort size of new customers?
It's a seasonal product. It's because it's the season for the sport.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was because of Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
No. October.
Well, I mean, that too. You'll see, for some businesses, like you can see like big spikes like that either for Black Friday, Cyber Monday time, or like in this case, it's super seasonal.
Yep. But because it's seasonal and we know that a large chunk of traffic comes here, this is another good video idea, but we'll talk about what to do in the prior months to make the most out of this one. Because if you kind of look at this is more than half of my new customers that came in during these 3 months. Anyways, we'll talk about that in the video. Stay tuned. Now going back to the other screen, this one here. So we have these numbers now where we're pulling. Pretty sure I got these from somewhere. But
you already said that you got them from a client. He's like, I got it from a client account. Everybody,
I got it from a client account. Everybody, just work with me, right? And now, so these are your revenue numbers. The profit margin, let's just say, I'm just playing with these now. I think they told me it was roughly 60%, which means they're profitable at $70, which means they can spend up to $70 to acquire a new customer to break even. Now, how did I get this? It's just this multiplied by this.
Can I ask? Here's my dumb quick. So I get this. It's funny. My thing that I admit is I do this, and before I do it with a client, I quickly put it through ChatGPT to make sure I'm explaining it right. And I don't know, sue me if you want. But the thing I always get screwed up on with profit margin is, like, in my mind, it should be 600% and not 60%. So, because I'm so used to using like a ROAS or a MER. So, like, how do you communicate that? Like, explain to people what that 60% profit margin means.
60% means that at $117, if they're selling it for $117, their cost of goods and everything to ship the product out is $70.
Yes, okay. And so then the remainder is that 60% profit margin because the 40% is covering the cost. Yep,
the 40%. So, 40%. So let me put this 40 just for visibility's sake, 40%. So 40% is their cost of goods to ship the product out, which means it's costing them $47 to get the product in and ship them out, right? And then, which means their profit margins, their take home after pretty much shipping it out is $60.
Yeah. So for each dollar they spend, they make $6.
Basically, give or take.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. My math isn't math. Then I just said so for each dollar in revenue they generate, they make 60 cents. Let's go with that.
There you go. Yes.
Is it 60 cents? See, you see why I do this? And I don't know about other people. People are always acting like they're so smart and stuff, but I'm like, I don't know. Let's break this down, because sometimes I'm like, let me just go in and figure out what this means before I explain something.
So for every dollar in revenue they generate, they take home 60 cents. For every $100 they generate, they take home $60.
Yep.
Anyways, I just played. These are ballpark spend numbers. Some of them actual, some of them I pulled up, and I just played with increase in spend. So what I kind of want to show you is as the game we're trying to play here is show that if we have a $70 nCAC number, right? And I'm going to highlight this number here. The profit they make from a customer is $56, which is literally the difference between $210 and $70, I think. Let me double check that, guys. Oh, sorry. It's the difference between $126 and $70. Does that make sense? No, why is it 126 minus 70? Because 126 is the total amount of profit they're going to make off of anyone, if they do, over the 12-month period at max. Because
on average,
210 times 60 is 126. And then if you subtract 70 out of it at month 0, they make $56 over that duration. If I get the person in for $70, if If I get it for any lower, I'm making more money off of it.
Yeah. And this is like very, very like big picture generalizations,
Yes.
because all of these are based on averages. So if you want to like really break it down and overcomplicate it, you can do the same math and the same process by like even product category or specific product even.
You can pay me $10,000 an hour, and I will sit down with you and we will do this together.
Yeah.
Anyways, these are nCAC numbers. So the way these nCAC numbers are calculated are essentially based off of LTV. The way you want to look at it is that when does the customer want to be profitable?
Yep.
If they want to be profitable on their first order, you need to get a new customer in under $70, right? If they want to be profitable after 3 months, you need to get that person in the door under $86, a new customer, right? If they want to be profitable after the 9th month, they need to be in the door, new customer at $118. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And you want to make sure the general Roger, right? So
you said customer though. I would say client. If the client wants the customer acquisition cost to be lower. Sorry, semantics.
Yeah. So it depends on when the client wants to be profitable and when they want to make money and how much money they want to make at a time. Now, this is where things get interesting. Actually,
I got one more thing. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're about to say it, but I was going to say it's about the client's threshold to pain, because some clients will be very averse to that and some clients are into it. So that's what you have to communicate to them. And those clients that are more averse are more likely to have issues, because you can see you have to spend less to acquire a customer. And in a competitive market, if you can't spend as much as your competitor's doing this, but you're not doing it, they can pay higher CPCs, they can have larger spend, they can dominate while you pick up the scraps.
Yep, exactly.
All right, sorry, Usama.
Anyways, it comes down to threshold of pain, and now it's about figuring out when the client will be most profitable. So I played with some numbers, average. These are budget increases that I did. And I assumed that I could spend, let's just say at $70 nCAC target, I was able to spend $40,000 a month. I did some budget based off the increase in this. I did some math and I was like, just made a rule kind of thing, really complicated, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, if I get a 77 target, I can spend probably 58. If I get an 88 target, I can spend this much. If I get this much, I can spend this much, blah, blah. You get the gist of it, right? This is the increase in spend, right? And then it came down to calculating how many new customers I could get. The amount of new customers I could get is literally the spend divided by the nCAC. So that's simple, spend divided by the nCAC. Increase in new customers, literally the difference between the two, that's it. And now this is the profit per customer we're talking about. So now it's coming down to how much money we're making. Profit per customer is $126, which is a total profit at 60% margins that they'll make in the 12-month window minus their nCAC value. So let's just say I'm getting them in for $70, 126, that's $56. If my target is 77, that's minus 126, that's 49 or whatever, right? So what's the profit for 12 months? It's literally the profit over 12 months is literally the profit per customer multiplied by the number of new customers. Now, pay attention to this. We started at 31,000. We went to 36,000. So if I do the difference between this and this, we had a $5,000 increase, right, in profit. And then we had a $4,000 increase in profit from this to this, then only $100. And then we lost 17 or 23,000. Essentially, what I'm trying to show is there will be a point of diminishing returns where the amount increasing the nCAC will not result in more profit. And you have to figure that out with the client, because these are ballpark numbers we're playing with. They're not accurate, completely accurate. This is what you have to figure out with your client. In this case, this target here is probably the best bet. 80 to 97 between these two, because these in between here is where the client is making the most amount of money possible for their business based off their KPIs, right? So then you can go to the client and be like, client, I think we should spend, if you're okay waiting, let's just say 6 months for a return, I think we should completely focus on this KPI here and getting customers into the door at $97. a new customer into the door at $97 because over time, based off these numbers and these whatever, they're going to be worth blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, this is a good way to propose budgets because I know, you know, it might happen more junior clients and whatnot, but you have clients come in and be like, what should I spend? And so you say, okay, well, let me look at your data. And I think going in with any client, if you're the digital marketer, maybe you are a client or, you know, a human owner, business owner, whatever. So it's like, you should look at your goals and look at it through this lens and say, like, do my goals make sense? I always ask, like, where are your goals coming from? Because it's nice when they're refreshingly made, you know, thinking about profit and whatnot, but sometimes people just want like a 3x because they're told a 3x is what they should get. You should be looking at your overall profitability as a business. That should guide how much you spend. And like to further this too, like the thing we'll keep talking about, it's funny how I'm a Google Ads guy, but I'm just going to talk about non-Google Ads things right now is, you know, you start looking at these profits of new customer acquisition, and then you can start going further and saying, okay, well, that profit would increase even further if we enhanced our retention strategies or found different ways to make users spend more money. And so it's bigger than just Google Ads. It's bigger than whining about broad match and budgets and Google Ads. Man, you know, I feel like people fall into the stereotypes.
Agreed. But yeah, that's how to look at LTVs. It's about finding the balance where everything fits in and where you want to stop. You don't just want to spend an insane amount of money and be like, okay, let's just spend it for the sake of spending it. You got to find where the client's going to be most profitable. And you got to remember, this is across all channels. You can't just focus on just Google and be like, my Google LTV is no. You want to look at it across all channels and focus on that.
It also opens up a lot of doors for kind of tertiary conversations with the clients too, just because you can get to that point where the like, let's say you get to that point of diminishing returns for adding more spend into those accounts, then it's like, well, how do we actually make a difference now?
Yeah.
And then those conversations become much more along the lines of what does your email stuff look like? What does your text, what does your SMS stuff look like? Because those are alternative ways to bring people back in to make additional purchases beyond their first, so that you can start increasing the amount of LTV that they give you over a longer period of time, so that you're not kind of stuck with just people that purchase once or twice.
Yeah,
and
it's an ecosystem, baby.
Yep.
And you're just one piece.
What they said, I'm just here.
No, that's me.
100%, because regardless of what you spend, a business owner will care about their bank account. And if you're like, I'm hitting a 10x and my bank account is not going up, and you're telling me you're hitting a 10x, they catch on.
Yeah.
They always catch on.
Yeah, like bottom line is the only thing that matters. So prove, like, relate what you're doing to bottom line. That can give the client confidence in you to stop getting stuck in the daily conversations and micromanagement of things in Google Ads. If you can show them the relationship between what you're doing and their bank account.
Yep.
Sorry, Andrew, still your thoughts.
No, I was gonna finish your thought for you, like a rude person, but I think in just circling all the way back to the very beginning of the conversation when Usama was kind of talking about how you get to a point in an account where it just doesn't let you spend anymore because you have some arbitrary high ROAS goal on it. Those are, if you find yourself in that place where you're just stuck and the client says they need a 10x and you're just trying to spend and it doesn't spend, and then it keeps spending less because your audiences are just dwindling over time, then you're just spending less and less and you're making less and less. But a lot of not very good marketers will still be out there and just be like, well, I'm getting you 10x, I'm doing what you said. But then all the meantime, they're Their revenue's just going through the tubes.
Basically.
So make people more money and ask why. When a client gives you, go ask why. Don't be like a dick about it. Just like, I know I have a hefty level of skepticism with a lot of things. And usually in a conversation with a client, you can find out pretty quick if they have got a grasp of what they're doing, because you'll start shooting these things back. And, you know, with some of the savvy clients, they start telling you what their profit margin is, their goals and why. You can have a good conversation with them on this. And if they're not, take them through an exercise like this, because if you can show them, hey, if we were spending more on our nCAC, we could make more, like we could make more revenue overall, or we'd be more profitable. But because we have this arbitrary rule, we're losing out. And so you just always got to show them on what they're missing out on, and create some FOMO.
Yep. Exactly.
Or you can tell them their goals are just wild and crazy.
That being said, clients that know their stuff are the best type of clients.
Yeah.
But that also means you need to know your shit, because they will call you out.
Yeah, no, that's the tough part. So just be careful. And I mean, honestly,
they're better clients, especially if you know your shit. They're better clients to deal with than anything else.
But honesty is good policy, people. Don't like bullshit. You know, just say, hey, like I know this and this. You know, I'm still kind of foggy here, but like I know that if we do this, this can help us get there. And if they get it, they'll be willing to play ball with you.
Yup. And thank you for coming to our TED Talk. Anything else we want to touch base on here, Andrew?
Just telling you to like, subscribe, send me money.
There's a PayPal link in here. Feel free to send me as much coffee money as possible.
Venmo. We don't have that in Canada.
Andrew has Venmo. We'll put Andrew's Venmo in there.
We're going to give you Andrew's address. We're going to tell you to go to his house.
Drop off some like chocolate, some cake for the kids.
Yeah, I accept gifts and sweets.
We're like politicians.
Right. All right. I think we're good. See y'all next time. Tell us what topics you want us to talk about, and we will keep at it.
Oh yeah, join our school community.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah, all the stuff that we talk about on here gets repurposed there, and we try to kind of put some more little nuggets in there. I don't know if Usama wants to put like an LTV calculator in there, but
yeah, we'll put it.
That would be things that would go in there.
I've got here. I can do some sales pitches on this too. I'd say if you want a group of like-minded, good marketers, you know, we've got a whole community of people who work together in one way or another. You can read between the lines there. And it's a very strong community of smart people, and we are going to build and give you access to things, videos, and you can do account review. So like, let's say if you have a problem with account, you can take it to Usama. He can help you out with
reviews, guys.
And who even knows what his consulting costs are? The guy asks for more money than anyone I know. So like his fees are probably like hundreds of thousands of dollars for an hour. So
listen, the way I look at it, I like money.
Yeah, look at him. He's wearing sunglasses inside.
Guys, my glasses broke. That's why I'm wearing sunglasses. But that's besides the point. Anyways, I think that's it.
Adios, people.
Adios.
Facebook, when like the older people will post that Facebook thing where they're like, I do not consent to Facebook to whatever.
I declare bankruptcy.
Yes, I declare bankruptcy.